that good. That's a little bit too high. Okay, so I'm gonna have to hope the audio sounds good here, or else this video's just cooked. All right, y'all, so this is currently being recorded April 25th or 26th. And if you remember last time, books I read this month, books I want to read next month. We're gonna move 3 of these over here because I plan on reading these this month. It's just that I had to make the video because I need like 4 days to edit this. It's just insane. So I'm just gonna put these right here behind it. So this isn't necessarily in order of which I read, but I'll just start naming out the books as I spread them out. Dune by Frank Herbert. Dune Messiah by Frank Herbert. Carrie by Stephen King. Salem's Lot by Stephen King. The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. It's like 4 pages. It's just a collection of his stories, okay? The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. Fascism and Democracy by George Orwell. The Complete Stories of Ernest Hemingway. I specifically read The Snows of Kilimanjaro. Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. The Road by Cormac McCarthy. Notes from Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky. And the last book for this video, Corpho by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Alright, you should know the premise by now. Let's get to book 1.
Give me your fucking money!
Alright, so book 1 this month was The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. It took me about 9 days to read. And God, this book is amazing, bro. So basically, to give a short summary, I'm not going to feature spoilers here because I probably have some friends that haven't read it and they do want to read it and I don't want to ruin it for them. This is one of the greatest books ever written, right behind Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky, and it's about this Russian family. It's a family drama about these 3 brothers and their father. The father, Fyodor, is kind of like a gambler. He's practically a whore. He just throws these massive orgies. They're basically 18th century ditty parties, but yeah, he's just that. Then there's the son, Ivan, who is an extreme atheist. Then there's Alyosha, who is the representative of good in the novel, aka the good Christian boy. And then there is Dmitri. He's the most realistic character. He's like the most realistic because he is in love with the same woman his father is, and they're both pursuing her. Well, and he also wants his father's inheritance. And then technically there's a 4th brother, Smerdyakov, I think is his name, right? Is that it? No, it's Smerdyakov. The other one I said was Crime and Punishment, my bad. They're after the same woman, Grushenka. And that's all I'm going to say about this book. 10 out of 10. One of the greatest novels ever written. I actually remember this one interview with Jordan Peterson with this one, I think he's a psychiatrist, where they said that there's definitely a case to be made for that being the greatest book ever written. Alright, so the next book I read was Salem's Lot by Stephen King. Now, this book took me around 2 to 3 days to read, and it was very entertaining. I enjoyed it a lot. No, actually, I think I read it all in one day. I think I actually read this entire book in one day. What am I talking about? I read this book the same day. I think it took me 2 days. The same day I finished it, I also read Carrie. So, you know what? I'm just going to talk about these 2 books at the same time. There we go. Books 2 and 3. Let's change it up. Salem's Lot is about a man named Ben Miller, right? I'm already forgetting the name. No, Ben Mears. And he's a writer, and he goes back to this town where he once knew as a kid, and it's Jerusalem's Lot. It's just shortened to Salem's Lot. And it's basically a big vampire story, and I'm not really going to get into it because I didn't even know this was his 2nd novel. But I read it and I just went into it blind. I actually didn't even know it was a vampire story until I looked it up online and saw a huge Nosferatu looking vampire on one of the old movie trailers. But overall, I really enjoyed this book, and yeah, it's a good one. Then the next book I read was Carrie. If you don't know the story of Carrie, brother, you're cooked. It's basically a glorified school shooting. No, I'm just kidding. It's about this girl who gets bullied. It's about her mother who has extreme religious faith, and she kind of goes crazy one day with her telekinetic powers and kills everyone at the prom. Yes, I just spoiled this book. It's been out for so long and it's so famous. If you haven't watched it, it's your fault at this point. Okay, so I actually kind of got the order wrong. Before Salem's Lot and Carrie, I read 4 other books. I got the order completely wrong. Okay, let's just do books. Screw it, I'm not reordering it. Books 4 through 7.
I'm bulletproof, nothing to lose.
The book I actually read after The Brothers Karamazov is The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. It's like 4 pages. I'm not even going to tell you. Go read it right now. Close out of this video and just go read those 4 pages so you can get the story yourself. I'm not even telling you what it's about. That's just dumb. Just go read it. It's one of the most famous poems of all time. Come on now. The next story I read was The Lottery, and while it's still a really short book, I will describe it a little bit. It's not the most traditional lottery. I think it doesn't really reveal itself to the very end, but I'm pretty sure these guys are playing the lottery with their lives. The next book is one of George Wells' this is all I got essays. He made a lot of essays in his time. This one specifically is Fascism and Democracy. I'm pretty sure you can guess what it's about. But yeah, I mean, it's just a glorification of socialism more than democracy or fascism. So I mean, George Orwell was a known socialist, so the more you know. Okay, so the next book I read is Ernest Hemingway's The Snows of Kilimanjaro. It's basically about this writer who gets sick with gangrene on the mountain of Kilimanjaro. He thinks he's going to be saved. He leaves his wife behind. In reality, they're just flying over Kilimanjaro. He dies. If you want more philosophical context on that, go read the book yourself. Man, I kind of hate that I messed up the list order. So let's get it straight now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're on book 8 now.
What are you doing?
Alright, so the next book I read was Cormac McCarthy's The Road. This is book 8. I read this in like 2 days. The words are really big. I recommend anyone just go and buy this book. The movie that they made is about the same, and it's really good too, but the read is just so good, man. It's basically a post-apocalyptic world where like it's so bad that animals are practically extinct, and it's about this father and his son traveling through the post-apocalyptic wasteland filled with cannibals and degenerates, and how they survive. And it gets to such a point where like he asks his son that if he gets caught, not to shoot the people, but to shoot himself. I remember when I was reading that part of the book, I was so immersed that for a second I forgot I was reading, and the words were just flying off the page into my eyes, and I was just registering them as if I was there with them in that very room, hearing him say that to his own son. This is probably one of the best reads of the month, not necessarily out of quality or out of philosophical context, but just out of pure enjoyment, out of pure jest. This book is the one to read, people. This book is the one to read. Alright, so book 9 was Notes from the Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky. This book is basically about the underground man. He's a very bitter man. He considers himself an intellectual. I'm about to ruin the story. Shout out to this guy's channel, by the way. He does really good summaries and just explanations of philosophical context within books. Notes from Underground is about the underground man. He considers himself an extreme intellectual, and it's him like remembering his life before he kind of just... I'll explain the plot through what he says. He was invited to a party where he was just messing around with his friends. He found himself with this prostitute, and he tried to defame her, telling her that she's a whore, this, that, and the other. He left her money in the counter, and she just walked away. Didn't accept it. By the time he went out to go see her, it was too late. And I think that is one of the greatest tutorials on how to destroy your life. And I think it's a really enjoyable read, and I recommend it to everyone. This man's books are so good. Alright, so the next book I read, again, Fyodor Dostoevsky, Poor Folk. This is his first ever novel, and I went into this expecting it to be not bad, but mediocre, because it's everyone's first work. Has to be some type of cringe, right? This man made the first Russian social novel as his first book. I'm not even going to spoil this. All I'm going to say is that it had me completely immersed. I read it in about a day, and I was so enamored and enthralled by this book. It's basically, it's a bunch of letters. The book is composed in the format of letters. You're receiving letters from the main character and from, like, you know, it's just like, it's a really good read. It's a really good read. I'm not gonna ruin it though. I'm only gonna ruin a set number of books here, because it would be really mean of me to just ruin this book for you. It really would.
He never sleeps. He says that he will never die.
He dances in light and in shadow, and he is a great favorite. He never sleeps, the judge. He is dancing, dancing. He says that he will never die.
And for the hardest read of the month, we have Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. This has to be one of the most violent books I've ever read. To give a brief summary, again, spoilers, Blood Meridian is about this kid who leaves his home from Tennessee, and he is thrown into the midst of a scalping gang in Mexico. They scalp for money, and they cut off ears, they do all this, and he gets just thrown into this group where the main antagonist, they're all antagonists, everyone in this story is an antagonist, but the main bad is Judge Holden. Judge Holden, there is no better way to explain him rather than just saying he's the devil. Judge Holden, I believe, is the Abrahamic devil, as said by the Vile Eye on YouTube. I believe that Judge Holden is one of the greatest villains ever written. Yes, even better than Anton Chigurh, another villain written by Cormac McCarthy. There is a fire truck. Anyway, this book was a really good read. I'm not going to spoil the ending though, but Judge Holden as a character, honestly, this book isn't as violent as people say. I'd say the atrocities is the part that scarred me the most, but in terms of violence, the most we see is really like the scalping and some descriptions of things that happens to kids. But like any one of the 3 Terrifier movies, you can watch it and be more disturbed by it than some of the stuff that comes out in this book. Honestly, the worst part of it, honestly, the worst part of this book is when every time this man, Judge Holden, and his gang entered, by the way, he's not even the leader of the gang, but you can tell he is. He just tells the freaking guy, it's actually Glanton's gang, but you can tell Judge just whispers behind his ear. He's like the little devil on your shoulder, the silver-tongued devil. This man comes out with so many words that I just read and didn't know what they meant. So he was definitely the silver-tongued devil. There's this one quote that's so famous from the book. Whatever in existence lives without my knowledge exists without my consent. I might have butchered that saying a little bit. I don't know if those are the exact words, but I remember I read that and I practically went into a catatonic shock. No, but tell me why every time this man Glanton and his gang walked into a town, a child went missing, and if he wasn't found dead, they were found, I can't say that word on YouTube.
Kakali Hurai Jahaish. Do you think you could have a chance? It's not the Josh. She hochausich. Shizihik ishitama shapito edemashili.
So the next book I read after Blood Meridian was Dune. This book took me around 4 days to complete. I'd say it's very identical to the movie, both parts, except there's like 3 key differences. I'm about to spoil all of Dune. In the book, there's 3 main differences. I'd say that the first difference is this whole arc where Jessica is presumed to be the traitor by Gurney. They just kind of cut that out of the movie, and I understand why, because it gets resolved so easily. Might as well just keep that out of the book. Then there's the fact that the Fremen not only keep the water just out of sacrifice, but also to build their new paradise, their green paradise. They actually are keeping the water for that purpose. That was just completely glossed over in the new movie with Timothée Chalamet. And then the last difference is kind of the ending. The ending, it doesn't really end with Jessica's mother, Jessica, Paul's mother saying, and now the holy war begins, and like that. The best lines from the movie weren't in the book, like my Arrakis, my Dune. I'm pretty sure that's the, you know. Anyway, that's not in the book. Lead them to paradise, that's not in the book. But honestly, the ending of the book is kind of worse than the movie. The book just ends with Shani accepting herself as the role of the concubine, and Paul's mother telling her, in history, we will only be known as concubines. Which, wow, what a way to end the book. I'm not disappointed by it, but I would prefer the movie version better. That ending was just so golden. But yeah, just watch the movie. The movie is worth it. The movie probably does it way more justice than a lot of other adaptations. Alright, the next book I read was Dune Messiah. I literally read this book yesterday, 336 pages. but the words are really big, so. Warning! There's a bird up here, just gonna crap on my head, huh? I'm about to spoil Dune Messiah. This is what the next movie is gonna be about. If you do not want to be spoiled for the Dune Part 3, click off this video. Dude, this bird is trying to ruin my day. Dune Messiah is basically the continuation of Dune, and if I'm being honest, the first 100 pages I found to be so boring. But I stuck through it. The first 100 pages is basically, the book starts off with an interview of one of the deniers of Paul and his religion. And then the next like 50 pages are his wife Erlin, the girl he marries at the end of the second movie, kind of plotting and scheming against him with the Reverend Mother and this new character who I can't remember his name for the life of me. I know his name, I just can't say it. I can't remember how to pronunciate it, but it begins with S. I'm just putting it on the screen. And then after those 50 pages, it's like Paul talking with Shani, and then Duncan Idaho gets revived stupidly and has his name changed to Hyatt. Then there's also his sister Alia, who was born, and they really demonized this man Paul. I get that they wanted to make him an unlikable character, but really, lusting over his sister? Really? That's what we're doing now. I can live with the fact that he killed 61 billion people and sterilized 90 planets, but we're really gonna go push the line to incest, brother? Really? Yeah, there's also like the famous Hitler line where he compares himself to Hitler and says 6 million. Pfft, that's nothing on me. Yeah, they really make you hate this dude. Anyway, the big climax of the book is really a nuke goes off and Paul loses his vision. And kind of like in the Matrix with Neo, he no longer can see through his eyes, but instead of being able to see through the Matrix, he has this like other hearing through the his like, I already forgot the word of it, but basically he can see without his eyes. By the end of the novel, he does lose this ability though, and the Fremen custom is, if you are blind, you have to go out to the desert for one of the worms to eat you. But before doing that, his 2 children that were birthed from Shani died in childbearing. His 2 children, this one is way more fresh in my mind because I just read it, by the way. His wife dies in child labor, and this assassin comes to kill his 2, his son and his daughter, his twins. And for a second, even though he's blind, he can see through his own son's eyes, which he named Duke Leto after his father. He sees through his eyes and saves his children, and then the book ends with him going off to the desert to die, and Duncan Idaho's clone falling in love with his sister Alia, I'm pretty sure. That's the way I read it. It literally says love me, so I'm guessing that they really fell in love. And that's the end of the book. I found it not to be the greatest book. I mean, the book starts with his own son, Frank Herbert's son, saying this is one of his most controversial works. But I want to see how this is adapted to the big screen, because it's not, there's barely any fights. Like, if it wasn't for one poem in the book, I would have forgotten about the worms, because they were literally never mentioned until like the last 50 pages.
Victory Screech!
Alright, and for the last book I read, I literally finished this at like 12 last night. The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. This is my second book by H.G. Wells. The first one was The Invisible Man, and while I liked this one, I liked that one, I didn't really like this one. This is a solid 5 out of 10. Now, don't castrate me, alright? I don't know, I'm about to spoil the book, by the way. Even though it's extraordinarily realistic for the Martians to get wiped out by common bacteria on our planet, I found it kind of overwhelming that the first 100 pages are just pure panic. Everyone's dying! Jim got his leg blown off! My brother, oh my god! And then like, by the end of the book, he's just walking around. They're all dead from common bacteria. You're telling me that me and you right now can just cough on these guys and we're scared of them? No. No, that was so underwhelming for me. Even though it's the most realistic ending, I kind of like the plot. I would have been happier if he was actually the last man alive. But no, he goes back home. Oh my god, my wife and my cousin are alive. We can repopulate now. No. Hopeless endings. I want this man to be the last person on Earth. No, but for real, it's a good book. I can appreciate what it did for sci-fi. It really laid the seed for everything that came afterwards. And I can appreciate its effect on our culture. And H.G. Wells is the GOAT, man. To write this in like 1889 or whatever, you gotta be 1898. You gotta be like some different type of species. He is a Martian. Alright, and this is a new section. This month I am gonna read these 3 books here. The Pearl by John Steinbeck, The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli, and Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed the book review. Now we're going to go on to the section of what I'm going to read next month. Next month is going to be way more like philosophy. It's going to be oriented towards philosophy. So I'm just going to name out the books one by one. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. Bushido, The Code of the Samurai. The Stranger by Albert Camus. I'm new to atheist philosophy, so I'm excited to see this. This isn't necessary philosophy. This is one I'm gonna read if I do finish all these books. The Red and the Black by Stendhal. My dad recommended this book. He said it's really good. He gave me a brief summary of like half the book and it completely hooked me. So I'm gonna hope I can get around to this book. This is the first book I'm gonna read next month. The Last Days of Socrates by Plato. The Politics by Aristotle. I found this book in Goodwill. What a golden find. Thus Spake Zarathustra by Nietzsche. Epictetus's How to Live. This one isn't necessary philosophy, but I want to read Fyodor Dostoevsky at least once a month, every month, so that I can finish all of his books by like 2026. And this is The House of the Dead. On the Nature of Things. I don't even know who this is about. On the Nature of Things by Titus Lucretius Carus. I know this is a really famous book, so I can't wait to get around to it. The Republic by Plato. This is probably the next book I'm going to read after The Last Days of Socrates. I heard it's really good. Rhetoric by Aristotle. And the last book I have here is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. This is a very nice cover I bought for myself on Amazon route. I can't wait to read all these books. Alright y'all, so I'm currently in the car, but I kind of forgot to weigh myself this morning, so I'm gonna get to the house and tell you what I weigh later. So yeah, sorry about that. Yep, so this is my weight this month. We're doing good. And for the channel updates, I'm gonna be recording one scary game this month, and that's really it. I'm gonna try and get a Schedule 1 video out, Breaking Bad edition, like the full, like a good chunk of that game. And yeah, that's it. Be looking forward to that. I need to wrap this up so that I can go do something real quick. See y'all!